Crimson dusk, black tide. Texas, present day. The Texas horizon bleeds crimson as the last sun sinks behind endless rows of corn. The air is heavy with the smell of husks and dry dust, a late summer stillness broken only by the faint tick of irrigation pumps. Then, a low vibration. At first it could be mistaken for a distant freight train. But Eli Ramirez, a third-generation farmer standing in the field with a battered flashlight, knows better. That's not a train, he mutters, jaw tight. That's them. The ground shivers. The vibration becomes a pulse, then a rumble, then a living roar. Out of the mesquite shadows pours a black tide, feral hogs, dozens strong, tusks flashing like jagged steel. They move with the coordination of a well-drilled army and the confidence of creatures that have never known defeat. Eli's heart spikes. Months of work, seed, sweat, diesel fuel, endless hours under a merciless sun, about to be undone in minutes. He fires a warning shot into the air. The hogs barely flinch. They fan outward in a dark crescent, eyes glowing amber in the flashlight beam, and charge the crop. Corn stalks snap like brittle glass. Soil churns under hundreds of cloven hooves. The smell of musk and mud floods the night. A personal catastrophe. By dawn, the damage is absolute. If 4 acres leveled. $18,000 lost in a single night. A deep rut so wide the tractor can't pass. Eli isn't alone. Across Texas, similar dawns greet hundreds of farmers each morning. According to the state's agriculture department, feral hogs inflict over $230 million in losses every year, a number that keeps rising. These animals aren't mere pests. They are invasive super survivors. Breeding year-round, sows producing up to 2 litters of 6 or more piglets annually. Omnivorous appetites, devouring crops, small animals, even soil organisms that keep farmland fertile. Uncanny intelligence, capable of remembering failed traps and altering their routes. Echoes from the past. How did Texas, once the symbol of rugged human dominion, become hostage to a creature imported centuries ago for sport and food? The story begins with Spanish explorers who, in the 1500s, released domestic pigs into the wild as a mobile meat source. Over time, these pigs interbred with Eurasian boars introduced by settlers for hunting. Generations later, the offspring are neither domestic nor purely wild but something far more dangerous, feral hybrids with explosive growth rates and a will to survive that borders on mythic. Families under siege. In neighboring Bastrop County, Linda and Marcus Ochoa wake to a different kind of alarm, the squeal of their family dog. By the time Marcus reaches the porch, a sounder of hogs has shredded their vegetable garden and is tearing at the chicken coop. It feels like we're under attack, Linda says, voice cracking. You build a life here, and overnight it's gone. Their 6-year-old daughter clutches a stuffed rabbit, wide-eyed as the hogs vanish back into the tree line, leaving only churned earth and a trail of feathers. A statewide crisis. Wildlife biologists estimate the U.S. feral hog population at more than 6 million, with at least 2.5 million in Texas alone. They destroy roads, undercut levees, and even chew through fiber optic cables that feed city internet grids. Insurance companies refuse coverage. Local governments scramble to allocate funds for repairs. Dr. Kayla Bennett, Texas A&M ecologist, calls them the most destructive invasive mammal in North America. Period. She explains that to merely hold the population steady, 66 to 70% must be removed every year. Current removal rates hover near 30%, a mathematical nightmare ensuring that numbers and damage will only grow. Crimson dusk, black tide. The sounder's secret. As daylight breaks over the scorched fields, wildlife biologist Dr. Kayla Bennett sets a motion camera near the churned earth. She speaks in a low, deliberate voice, as if the hogs themselves might be listening. People underestimate their intelligence, she says. A feral hog remembers every failed trap, every scent of human touch. Miss once, and that sounder will never approach the same spot again. A sounder, the term for a family group, can range from a few animals to more than 50. They are tight-knit, fiercely protective, and constantly communicating with grunts and squeals. When threatened, they scatter like smoke, only to reform miles away. To a farmer, they are ghosts that trample the earth. Night operations. Just after sunset, Eli Ramirez rides in the passenger seat of a pickup with game warden Thomas Vega. Thomas carries a thermal imaging rifle, a drone operator follows in another truck. Tonight, they are part of an aerial culling operation. Above them, a helicopter hums. Its spotlight slices through the darkness, revealing shapes that look like heat-shimmering clouds, hogs feeding in an abandoned pecan orchard. Thomas adjusts his headset. "We'll never kill our way out of this," he says. "But tonight we try to slow them down." The chopper dips, the rifle cracks, and a handful of hogs drop. Others vanish into the cedar scrub, silent as breath. Eli lowers his binoculars, torn between relief and despair. He knows tomorrow the survivors will breed again. Human cost. Feral hogs don't only devastate fields, they upend rural economies. In a single year, Texas rancher Deborah Miles lost $140,000. Fences flattened, irrigation pipes mangled, and entire pastures rendered useless. Insurance wouldn't touch it, Deborah says. They call it wildlife damage, like it's a raccoon in the attic. But this isn't wildlife. It's an army. Local counties divert road repair budgets to hog control. Small towns raise property taxes to fund trapping programs. The financial ripple touches everyone, from grocery stores to school districts, because higher farm costs mean higher food prices. Ancient roots, modern threat. Archaeological evidence shows feral pigs reshaping landscapes long before modern farming. Their rooting behavior churns soil like a plow, exposing seedlings to sun and erosion. That might sound beneficial, but repeated disturbance destroys native grasses and accelerates runoff, silting up rivers and choking fish populations. Biologist Bennett explains. They're ecological engineers, only their blueprints are chaos. In Texas wetlands, hogs rip apart nests of ground-dwelling birds. They devour turtle eggs, eat fawns, and compete with deer and turkey for acorns. This isn't merely a farm crisis, it's a slow ecological collapse. The trapping wars. Traditional box traps fail when even one hog escapes and teaches the rest caution. Now, landowners experiment with corral traps triggered remotely by smartphone. Some deploy Judas pigs, captured hogs fitted with GPS collars and released to lead hunters to the herd. It is an arms race of wits. For every innovation, hogs adapt. "We are fighting an enemy that learns," says trap designer Rafael Ortiz. "If humans stopped tomorrow, they'd own this land in a decade." Cultural collision. Despite the destruction, some Texans see opportunity. Wild hog meat, when properly processed, is lean and flavorful. Entrepreneurs market it as Texas boar, selling to high-end restaurants. Guided hog hunts draw tourists seeking adrenaline. This uneasy coexistence breeds debate. Should humans exterminate the species or integrate it into local economies? Indigenous leaders caution against simple eradication, urging respect for balance, even as they, too, suffer crop losses. Near midnight, Eli stands at his fence line. The stars glitter like cold embers, the fields lie silent for now. But he hears the faintest crunch of dry leaves and feels the earth vibrate, just slightly. He grips the worn wood and whispers, almost to himself. "They'll be back." A coyote yips in the distance. Somewhere beyond the mesquite, the black tide gathers again. Borderless invaders. By late autumn the hogs have crossed the Red River into Oklahoma, leaving a wake of destroyed sorghum fields and shattered fences. Wildlife officers from both states meet at a dusty roadside diner to share intel. Officer Myra Cole, Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. "You think you've got them pinned, and then you get a call 2 counties away. They'll swim rivers. They'll cross highways at rush hour. There's no such thing as a barrier." Researchers track them moving up to 15 miles in a single night. They can swim half a mile without rest, using rivers as secret highways. Every fence, every levee, every natural boundary humans believe in, hog herds treat as a suggestion. A predator without fear. Unlike deer or coyotes, feral hogs have no natural predator large enough to check their numbers in Texas. Mountain lions take the occasional piglet, but adults weigh 150 to 300 pounds and travel in groups, making them formidable even to apex predators. Their thick hide shrugs off small-caliber bullets, their tusks can pierce a truck tire. It's like facing an animal designed to survive the apocalypse. Says Dr. Marcus Lowell, a predator's prey specialist at Texas Tech. This survival advantage turns every confrontation into a high-stakes gamble for hunters and farmers alike. Night on the Brazos. One humid evening, helicopter pilot Randy Holt lifts off from a rural airstrip near the Brazos River. His thermal camera lights up with white-hot signatures, an entire sounder grazing on the riverbank. "Copy that, 20+, he radios to his shooter. "Let's make it quick before they reach the pecans." The chopper swoops low. The thump of rotors sends hogs scattering like sparks from a forge. A few are felled by precise shots, but many vanish into the dense river willows, protected by thickets that even infrared struggles to penetrate. Randy circles back, frustrated. "We might get 10 tonight," he says. "They'll have 30 more by spring." Toll on water and soil. The hog invasion isn't just a farm problem. Their wallowing habits erode riverbanks, sending silt downstream and clogging reservoirs that supply drinking water to millions. Tests show spikes in E. coli after heavy rains wash hog feces into waterways, prompting boil advisories for rural communities. Soil scientists document the collapse of delicate prairie ecosystems. Native grasses vanish, replaced by invasive weeds that cattle won't graze. With each uprooted acre, carbon once stored underground escapes into the atmosphere, adding a subtle climate cost to the damage ledger. The people who refuse to leave. Despite the devastation, many families vow to stay. Eli Ramirez, whose cornfield massacre opened this chapter, repairs his fence for the 3rd time that month. He teaches his teenage son how to track prints and listen for the low grunt of approaching hogs. "This is our home," Eli says, setting another fence post under a pink dawn. "They don't get to win. If we give up, they take everything, not just the crops, but the land itself." Neighbors pitch in, rotating night watches and sharing drone footage in a private online group. In these small acts of community, defiance becomes ritual. Glimpses of the future. Economists warn that without dramatic intervention, feral hog damage could top $1 billion annually in the U.S. within a decade. Genetic research offers a glimmer of hope. Scientists are exploring gene drives to reduce fertility. Yet ethical debates rage. Introducing a self-spreading genetic edit could have consequences impossible to predict. For now, the fight remains low-tech: rifles, traps, and sleepless nights. On a chilly December evening, Eli and his son stand beneath a moon so bright it turns the field silver. They hear the faint rustle of mesquite leaves, then silence. The boy asks, almost in a whisper, "Will it ever stop?" Eli doesn't answer right away. He watches the horizon where shadow meets starlight and finally says, "Not tonight. But we keep going." Winter's siege. January brings a sharp cold front across North Texas, but frost does little to slow the feral tide. Infrared drones capture a staggering sight: a sounder of more than 80 hogs clustered around a hay meadow, steam rising from their bodies in the frigid air. Below, rancher Caitlin Reeves grips her coat tighter. "You almost wish the cold would thin them out," she says. "But they just keep eating. Cold, rain, drought, it's all the same to them." The animals churn the frozen ground into a slurry, scattering bales meant for cattle. Within hours the field resembles a battlefield of hoof prints and shattered ice. Lessons from the past. Historians trace today's crisis to the 1500s, when Spanish explorers released domestic pigs into the wild. Over centuries, these pigs interbred with Eurasian boar brought for sport, creating the feral hybrid we fight now. Resilient, intelligent, and highly fecund, the hybridized species can breed twice a year, with litters averaging 6 piglets, sometimes 12. Early warnings were ignored. State wildlife boards in the mid-20th century often encouraged hog hunting for recreation, inadvertently spreading them to new counties. By the time eradication became a priority, the population was already a runaway wildfire. Emotional weight. For families like the Ramirez's and Reeveses, the struggle is more than a statistic. Sleep is thin, every distant grunt in the night sets nerves on edge. Children learn to identify tracks before they can ride a bike. Sunday gatherings revolve around strategy sessions instead of leisure. "It changes how you see your land," Caitlin confides. "You don't look at a field of wheat and think harvest. You wonder how long before it's torn up again." This chronic stress echoes through marriages, finances, and mental health, an invisible toll seldom captured in official reports. Technology and tenacity. Innovators respond with new tools. Solar-powered automated traps that text alerts to phones. Night vision drones capable of tracking heat signatures miles away. Experimental baits laced with contraceptives. Yet every breakthrough meets the hog's cunning. They quickly learn to avoid suspicious structures or detect unfamiliar scents. Wildlife biologist Dr. Nia Patel sums it up. "You're facing one of the smartest mammals on the continent. They adapt faster than we invent." The relentless rhythm. As the first light of February washes the Brazos Valley, Eli Ramirez walks his property line. The horizon blushes with rose and copper. In the silence he hears a distant rustle, the sound of tusks rooting in frozen soil. He shoulders his rifle, not out of excitement but duty. Every step is a vow. The fight continues, because giving up means surrendering not only a harvest, but a heritage. From the first Spanish explorers to today's drone-guided hunts, the story of Texas and its feral hogs is one of unintended consequences and hard-won resilience. It is a war of attrition waged in the dark, where each family's struggle forms a thread in a much larger tapestry. The chapter ends as it began. A crimson dusk settling over fields scarred by hoofprints. A black tide still rising.